Buenos dias, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Crossing the Line. As always, I'm Sergio Cano, Matt Intrican, Brian Kilman. Amigos, how's you guys' weekend? Beautiful weather today. You guys enjoying it?
It's a tremendous day, Sergio. I'm loving it.
Yeah, I had a good weekend too, man. Excited for the spring coming up here.
Yeah, definitely. Any exciting topics or, breaks for spring break?
Going back to the great city of Frederick, Colorado.
Ooh.
I don't know where that is. I'm sure it's a nice city, What about you?
I'm flying to London, gonna visit some friends in the UK.
Okay.
So that'll be a lot of fun.
Way to flex on everybody on that one. I'm just kidding. Well, let's kick off the show with a little bit of MLB, which I know you guys always have a lot of abundance of notes. Fellas, the MLB season started not too long ago. That being said, is it too early to claim a World Series dark horse? If you guys could pick a dark horse to get to the World Series, who do you guys got? I mean, Yankees, Dodgers, San Diego's 9-1, Philadelphia. Any of those teams you guys think can make it all the way? Brian?
I'd love to say the New York Mets are going to be the team, the dark horse this year, but they've broken my heart too many times, and I just can't say the Mets. So I'm going to go with the Los Angeles Angels. They have probably the best 1-2 punch in Major League Baseball right now. Mike Trout, Anthony Rendon. Mike Trout has never finished lower than fourth in MVP voting. He's been in the league for 8 seasons. He led the league in on-base percentage the past 4 years. He is the best player in baseball right now, I think. And Rendon was an MVP candidate last year. He finished third in the NL voting. 319 batting average last year, 412 on-base percentage. The two of them together are going to be a killer combination. Mike Trout has never had a teammate as good as Anthony Rendon. Only 3 of his teammates previously have had higher than a 5 wins above replacement, and Rendon is much better than that. As well as Ohtani is the best two-way player in the game, I think, right now. He's going to be out for a little bit with that elbow surgery recovery. But when he was pitching last year, 3.31 ERA, 63 strikeouts in 51 innings. I don't love the pitching. I really don't love the pitching. But hopefully they can pull it together. Last year, no starter had under a 4 ERA. But they got Julio Teheran from the Braves in the last season. He's formidable. He was pretty good last year. So hopefully their pitching can step up, both starters and relievers, and the combination of Mike Trout and Anthony Rendon are going to carry them to a lot of wins this year.
Matt?
Brian.
Oh, here we
Brian. Listen to me. Your concrete reasons, your biggest reasons that you just said right there for the Angels putting out a great season where Mike Trout and Anthony Rendon. Sure, Anthony Rendon is an MVP caliber player, but this isn't basketball. You can just add one player and everything changes.
Ooh, okay.
I'll give you that. Julio Teheran's on the team now. Is he an elite pitcher? No. And Mike Trout, they've had him for the better part of the last decade. And did they make the playoffs once? No. Listen to me. And Ohtani, he's going to get injured. We know he's going to get injured. He's not going to have. I think if a miracle happens, he can be the X factor. Maybe that will be something to think about for the Los Angeles Angels. And I will say that there's a very high ceiling for the Angels with the Joe Madden addition. But I just don't think, and I actually disagree with you. I think that the Mets are going to have a better season than the Angels, and here's why.
Mets.
The Angels did not have a single pitcher to make 20 starts in 2019 and have had just 10 pitchers make 20 starts over the past 5 seasons. Conversely, for the Mets, the first 5 guys in the projected rotation this year have all made at least 30 starts last season. Okay, and going along with that, you have the additions of Edwin Diaz, a great relief pitcher. Addition of Dallin Betances, and you could even get Yoenis Cespedes. There's a lot, and they had 86 wins last season, and that seemed like an underachievement. I understand there's a little bit of a New York Mets effect, a little plague that's been affecting them. But you know what? This is the year.
Ooh. I don't know. I think if the Mets have a whole lot a whole lot better looking roster, certainly, especially on the pitching side. Getting Dylan Betances and Edwin Diaz, as well as all the starters they have. But I just think when it comes to World Series, I think if the Angels can pull something together, they have a pretty high floor, I think. They got 72 wins last year with no good pitching. Mike Trout's their only formidable bat, really. I think if the Angels can pull it together and find some pitching this year, whether it's the pitchers I already have or make a trade during the season, I think the Angels look better just because they're not the Mets.
I will say I think if Julio Teheran does his thing and Dylan Bundy does his thing, and maybe the Angels make a mid-late season addition that powers them through, especially to the rotation, and really cement that starting rotation, then maybe things can happen. But I just don't think they would overpower what the Mets have going for them. They're hungry. They are ready to win. That whole Mets organization is ready to win. Ahora, now.
I will say something,
Nice.
just very briefly. I think another team is the Arizona Diamondbacks. I think they are a very long shot, even more than the Angels, admittedly, especially by the Vegas books. Vegas isn't giving the Diamondbacks any chance, but the Diamondbacks have a player who finished fourth in the MVP voting last year. They have good pitching, and they have some other bats around that they can do.
And it's also worth noting that both those divisions, the AL West and the NL West, you've got teams to deal with. You've got the Los Angeles Dodgers, who have not lost the division in forever. And of course, we all can agree that the Colorado Rockies are going to be a team to contend with. It was actually very, very hard to resist the temptation to pick the Rockies as my dark horse, but I won't do it. I
thought you were going to say the Rockies.
That's what I thought too.
Maybe.
I think that the Rockies seemed to underperform last year. I think the
I would
Rockies
agree.
were better than their record last year. And they have some good players there. Arenado's best third baseman in the game. So
Astute analysis there, Brian.
Wow. Hey, are you guys willing? Before we move on, are you guys willing to bet on you guys' predictions?
Another bet. We're going to have to think on that one.
Yeah, we'd have to.
right,
There'll be some contention.
Okay.
There'll be a bet.
There'll be something there. But if the Angels or the Mets don't do very well at all, then who wins, who loses, I don't know.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
We'll have to replay this tape
Yeah,
3
we will.
months from now.
Put this one in the books. Okay, well, let's shift to a little bit of college basketball, fellas. March Madness is coming around. You guys could sense it. You could feel it. We're 11 days out from Selection Sunday. That being said, what does this March Madness have in store for us? Is it one of the craziest one in years? We have Baylor, Gonzaga, Kansas, San Diego State, all those powerhouses. And what do you guys think? Who are you guys rooting for as an underdog? Exactly. Matt? What do you think about all this?
See, Sergio, every March, I go into what's called March Madness, when other teams that I think are going to do well and are going to win don't, and I descend into madness, frustration, because that's what March basketball does to me. And I think this month is going to be even worse for me, because of all the volatility we've seen in the NCAA this season. Let me tell you, I trust 0 teams. Kentucky just blew a 17-point lead and lost to unranked Tennessee. We had one day earlier where 7 top 25 teams lost, including 3 of the top 5. 6 ranked teams were defeated by double digits. And so it's just been things like that. And not to mention the North Carolina Tar Heels seemingly replaced by an alternate dimension North Carolina Tar Heels that suck. So it's things like that that make no sense in the NCAA this year. Those are March Madness.
Never know what happens.
That's all I have to
That's
say.
why they call it March Madness.
Yeah, I think it's going to be pretty crazy. We see all these, especially top 5 teams losing, and there's just no clear top dog that I could tell. Baylor looked good for a while, and then they lost a couple of games in a row here recently. Kansas looks all right, but just like the Mets, I can't trust the Kansas Jayhawks. I cannot trust the Kansas Jayhawks. Through January 19th, the top 5 teams in the AP rankings lost 14 games to unranked teams. And back in 2017-2018, top 5 teams lost 25 games over the season to unranked opponents. And Villanova wins the championship that year.
Yep.
But we see teams like Loyola Chicago, they made the Final Four, the number 11 seed. And we see a number 1 seed go down for the first time ever to UMBC. Virginia loses to them. The other thing that I think will make it a fun March Madness this year is these non-Power 5 teams that are looking really good. Gonzaga plays in the WCC. They're number 2. Dayton's number 3. They play in the Atlantic 10. San Diego State plays in the Mountain West. They're number 5. Seton Hall's number 8. And I think it's just going to be a lot of fun. I don't know who's going to win. I would not put any money on my bracket this year. But
Maybe
it's going to be a lot of fun.
Pie bet on your bracket?
Oh, we were waiting for that
We'll
one.
see. We'll see about that one.
Team March Madness bet.
Oof. Yeah.
Your bracket.
Okay.
I think one other thing I wanted to say is the Big Ten. Who is going to win the Big Ten? There's 8 teams currently in the top 25. Number 9 Maryland lost to Rutgers last night, unranked. Michigan State beat Penn State. Number 18 Iowa lost to unranked Purdue. And these are all the most recent games. Ohio State beat Michigan. Penn State, obviously, that I just mentioned, lost to Michigan State. Illinois got a 1-point victory over Indiana. They're no good. Wisconsin, 2-point victory over Minnesota. Like I said, Michigan lost to Ohio State. So who knows who's going to win the Big Ten tournament and who's going to come out of that. But I will say, I hope Rutgers is a bubble team. Rutgers has been a lot of fun. 18-1 at home this year. 19-11 overall, but they were a lot of fun to watch at home. Maybe they won't give them that because they were terrible on the road and Rutgers doesn't get to play at home. But Big Ten is pretty crazy right now, too.
Okay.
It's definitely going to be an interesting March. I mean, I'm excited for it. I'm not going to put any big bets on my bracket.
Just going to sit back and watch.
Yeah, just sit back and
enjoy
it.
See all the motions flow. So you liking Rutgers then, maybe?
I would just like Rutgers to make the tournament.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. To win right now, God, Gonzaga, I think I'd have to take Gonzaga.
Yeah, I'd probably roll with Gonzaga as well.
I would have to agree, Gonzaga.
Okay. Well, it's time for our favorite part of the show, our weekly Fail Mary. We know we haven't been around as a lot, but we're back. So to introduce you guys, tennis player Stefano, help me out here, guys. Tsitsipas, thank you. Hit his dad with the racket during the ATP Cup. Raging is an understatement, of course. Matt, would you want to elaborate on this exactly?
Yeah, so Stefanos Tsitsipas, notably one of the top tennis players in the world. I think he's ranked number 5 right now. Correct me if I'm wrong, but gets frustrated in the middle of a match, walks off the court, swings his racket at the bench, inadvertently hits his father, and then he swings again, hits his father again, sits down on the bench, his father gets up, yells at him, walks away, and then his mother in the stands yells at him as well. So obviously, very embarrassing moment for Stefanos. Let's go make fun of him.
Check it out.
Good afternoon, Colorado Mesa University, and welcome to another episode of Fail Mary. Today, we're going to be looking at something that Stefanos Tsitsipas did, one of the top tennis players in the world. Several weeks ago, during a match, he was getting frustrated and actually hit his father with a racket twice. Today, we're going to show you what Stefanos should have done. Okay, so basically, Stefanos did it all wrong. If you're going to use your racket to take out your frustrations, you do not hit people on your own team, especially not your father. That's just stupid, okay? If anything, you want to hit somebody on the other team, but that can lead to fines, suspension, expulsions, and you just don't want to do that. Don't want to do that. That's just stupid. Okay, so what you're going to want to do here is you're going to want to use your own body to take out your frustrations. Okay, I know that sounds crazy, but stay with me here. And this is something that only baseball players have really mastered over the years. So, and you can do this one of 2 ways. You can either use your racket and snap it over your knee, or you can do what the Japanese player from Major League 2 did and snap it over your head. Okay, you do this for multiple reasons. First, it makes you look like a badass. Intimidates the other players, okay? Number 2 It's relatively safe. You know, you might get some blood on yourself, but you're not gonna hurt anyone else. You're not gonna get in trouble, okay? So now, Brian, I'm gonna give you some creative freedom with this. You do what you gotta do to take out your frustrations without injuring your father. All right, so Brian's missed the shot. He's pissed off. He's frustrated. Throws the racket. Instead of him breaking the racket over his knee, I'm gonna have him break this plank since we have budget cuts imposed by Greg Mikulai, and Brian's gonna go for it. Perfectly executed. Well done, Brian. All right, so if breaking your racket over your knee is not your thing, you can go the Takeshi Okinawa route and break it over your head. Here you go, Brian. Perfect. Well done. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how Stefanos should have done it. That's gonna do it for us today on Crossing the Line. Remember, guys, keep failing so we can show you how to succeed. Hey!
Wow, you guys never fail to amuse us with that. Brian, does your head hurt?
No, that, you know, I got the iron skull here.
That's right.
You
Head, yeah.
break anything over the head, really. Everything I have to say is how embarrassing is it to get yelled at by your mom when you're a professional athlete? She comes over and starts yelling at you.
Yeah.
You would think, hopefully, if you're making millions of dollars playing sports, your mom's not yelling at you. But
Yeah.
Stefanos Tsitsipas or whatever, excuse me, but yeah, he failed at that, and obviously breaking the racket is the best way to go.
I don't know how they're raising their kids there in Greece.
Yeah.
Tsitsipas' homeland.
Well, excellent, performance in your tennis. That was totally, blown away by your skills. But you gotta teach me how to swing, man. I'm not really good at it. Anyways, let's move on to a little bit of NBA. It's the National Basketball Association action. The Bucks recently got shellackled by the Miami Heat. Let's not get crazy here, but are you guys worried? Are the Bucks kind of in trouble? That being said, before the other day, before they lost to the Heat, they were on a back-to-back. Previously, they were 8-0 before that loss. And the Miami Heat were struggling before. They had like a 14-14 record over the last 28 games. That being said, they match up really well against the Bucks. They're 2-0. Do you guys see this as a, problem down the road for the Bucks if they match up against the Miami Heat? How serious do you guys take this, Brian?
First thing I want to say is, yes, the Heat have beat the Bucks both times they played them this year. But the first time was 2 games into the season. The Heat was a very different team. They traded away some players since then. And the Bucks just had a terrible game the other night against the Heat. Giannis put up 13. The team shot 20% from 3, while the Heat shot almost 50% from 3 the other night. And the first game, the Bucks lost in overtime, but Giannis put up 29 points, 17 rebounds. But the Heat might be giving other teams a formula to beat the Bucks. Ultimately, though, the Bucks are still 52-9. They're leading the league in points per game, defensive rating. They're second in the league in defensive points per game. They're 46-6 since November 8th, and Giannis is certainly an MVP race. So I don't think the Bucks have anything to be worried about. They have to. Last season they didn't show up in the playoffs necessarily, especially when they played the Raptors. But I think the Bucks will be just fine. They just need to figure out how to win games that they need to win, especially high-pressure games when it comes to playoffs.
I don't think we should be worried about the Bucks. No. I think we should be worried about the Bucks playing the Heat. as we saw, the Heat found a formula to stop Giannis Antetokounmpo. He went 1 of 10 that night, including 0 of 7 on contested shots for a season-low 13 points.
Yup.
Not to mention, one of Giannis's strongest abilities is how he scores in transition. 0 points in transition for only the second time this year. And a comment on Giannis as a whole is that Giannis, I don't think, is much of a closer. Every great team needs to be successful in the playoffs, needs a closer, someone who will hit that last second shot. And I'm not ready to call Giannis that guy. And maybe the Miami Heat can't sustain the performance that they put up against the Bucks the other night. But I think that, a lot of people give credit to Bam Adebayo for doing what he did against Giannis Antetokounmpo. And I say that we shouldn't worry about the Bucks losing to other teams or having trouble against other teams because they don't have the weapon that is Bam Adebayo. And that the defensive prowess, because Giannis is not an easy man to stop. No. And Miami Heat found a way to do that. Giannis is clearly far away the Bucks' best player. They found a way to stop him. Sure, they did it the second game of the season, but they did it again today or the other night. And I think that is something that they could potentially do and possibly upset the Bucks in the playoffs.
Right. Wow. Brian?
Yeah. I don't have much to say, really. I think the Bucks are a really good team. And Giannis did not look very good the other night against the Heat. Bam Adebayo played some good defense, but the rest of the Bucks team didn't show up very much either. Chris Middleton didn't have a great game either.
Right. It happens, any given game. When you're in the NBA, there's really no such thing as a weak opponent, especially a respective opponent as the Miami Heat. They could cause them some troubles. I believe they won't beat. If they were to match up against the Bucks, I don't think they'd be able to beat them in a 7-game series. But we'll have to wait and see. I think this year is the year that Giannis, like you said, has to prove to be that closer. We see what he could do in the regular season. He's most likely on his way for his second MVP. But you make history and your legacy is built in the playoffs. So we'll see how that goes. We're going to continue to stay on the NBA topic. Zion Williamson. Jeez, well, he's been an absolute monster in just, not even that many games. Do you guys think Zion in any way could catch up to Morant for Rookie of the Year? Morant has played basically all seasons, averaging 17.4 points per game, 7 assists. He holds the 8th seed. Pelicans are 4 games behind him. Zion's already shown dominance. That being said, he also has Ingram, which gives him, which gives opponents another focal point to focus on. Morant's best second teammate is Valanciunas, averaging 14 points per game. They have a good young core, but Morant is the engine of that team, and Zion's played less games. That being said, he's averaging ridiculous 24 points per game. Brian, what do you see? Or sorry, Matt, what do you think Zion could do to close that gap between Morant?
Well, I think at the end of the day, if Zion and the Pelicans can make the playoffs and overtake the Grizzlies for that last spot, then I think the plot thickens. And another thing is that I like to judge a professional athlete's worth, value, talent on how many nicknames they have and how often and how easily your first name can be said and everybody just knows who you're talking about. Exhibit A, LeBron. Exhibit B, Kobe. Zion, I think, is that guy. Zion's the guy with a lot of nicknames. Zion is the guy that is a headliner. And let's be honest, I think the numbers that Zion has put up so far far eclipse what Ja has done. I know, he's only played a handful of games, just over a dozen. But I think if you asked yourself, had Zion started at the same time Ja has, would it even be close? Do you think that if they started at the same time, would Zion sustain these performances? And I think the majority of voters would say yes to that.
I think I agree with you in regards to that. If Zion put up almost 25 points per game for an entire season, it would not even be close.
Yeah.
Not even close. But I think when it comes down to it, if you don't play at least half the games in the season, I don't think you should win Rookie of the Year. Ja's had a good season, like Sergio said. 17 points per game, 7 assists per game, 20 games with 20 or more points, 18.1 player efficiency rating. And I think most importantly, the Grizzlies were supposed to be bad this year. The Grizzlies were supposed to be pretty bad, and they're in contention for the playoffs in a tough West. While Zion has had an incredible start to his season, dominating on the offensive boards, 3.1 offensive rebounds per game, as compared to 3.8 defensive. So he's really dominating the offensive boards. He grabs his own rebound all the time, but it's just a small sample size. Zion's shooting almost 42% from 3 points this year, but he's only taken 12 3-pointers. So I think Zion's showing he's dominant, but I just think ultimately, if I was a voter for a Rookie of the Year, if I was to say who's my Rookie of the Year, Ja Morant's put in the work all year, especially to get the Grizzlies to the playoffs.
Right.
I hear you, Brian, but it's as if we're giving Ja Morant a participation award, because the only evidence you have that you think Ja Morant deserves this more than Zion Williamson is that he's played more games. I get that the best ability is availability, but looking at what Zion has done, if he sustains this performance of being the first teenager to do this and that since Michael Jordan, setting these records for rookies, for teenagers, and it sustains it and even improves upon what he's done so far, and principally taking his team to the playoffs, then I think it would really be a tough decision who you're going to pick.
Right.
All right. Yeah, it'll be a tough one.
It'll be a tough one. We'll see. Next year we'll get a better picture of who really, what Zion could actually do. That being said, he, stays healthy. He's an electrifying player. Same with Ja. You see how many posters he's try to poster Anthony Davis, which the kid is
Kevin
absolutely
Love.
fearless. Kevin Love.
If you got Kevin Love, that would have been the dunk of the decade. Anyway.
Yeah, no, definitely. Well, that concludes our show, unfortunately. Thank you guys for all watching. But before we leave, let's do our weekly shout-outs. So my shout-out goes out to Karis LeVert. 51 points, absolutely torched the Celtics in overtime. Got the W. Amazing performance. Just one of those games that you see a guy just erupt out of nowhere.
My shout out goes to Tim Tebow for electing to play for the Philippine national team in the World Baseball Classic. In other news, I have decided to play for the Taiwanese national team for the Spike Ball National Championships on account that my father once took a trip to Taiwan and, quote, said it was pretty nice.
Nice.
My shout-out's going to go out to Marshawn Lynch. He was selected as the Class Day speaker for the University of Princeton. And Princeton, the students are pretty pissed. The seniors at Princeton are like, why couldn't you bring a better guy? But I would love Marshawn to come to my university.
Screw Princeton. Bring him to CMU.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Well, okay. Well, thank you everybody for watching. As always, it's always a pleasure. See you guys next week. Have a great rest of your week.